Knife testing in progress.
I like this knife actually.
There's a sea of blue of the Nutnfancy project reviewing table. I think you know what that means. You guys crack me up. I remember reading a comment, I guess about 4 years ago, and it's always stuck with me. A lot of your comments stick with me. And it was under one of my auto knife reviews. Old school KRV. And dude says, hey man, love the video, love the knife. You know, maybe not my style, but I'm sure sad that you're not doing more fixed blade knife reviews. And I was like, I thought that was so funny because I like all types of knives, not just folding knives, not just fixed blade knives, but all kinds. You know that. Look at my playlist if you don't know that. But I've always remembered that dude's comment because I'll be doing a folding knife review and I'm like, oh, I need to balance it out with some fixed blade knives. So guess what, dude? If you're still around, here comes a series of fixed blade knife reviews. I think I have 3 posting all together. This one's going to be on, Knives of Alaska, getting some more love in TMP. Yeah. Defense Survival in D2. They also make it in S30V. This is model number, as you can see, 844FG. It's in the tan handle, Kydex sheath, nylon webbing. Testing complete, by the way, on this knife back in 2013. Surprisingly, I really like this knife. Oh, why are you saying surprisingly, Nutton? Because, and let's just jump into philosophy of use because this is why. We got to talk about this. For my larger woods blades, this is a 6-inch blade though, which in my mind kind of barely makes it a large knife. To me, a large knife is 7 inches or longer. You know, I know that's what she said. 7 inches or longer, to me, is a bigger woods blade. But just for the tabletop, we'll call it a larger woods blade. I like ones that can chop. I like ones that can hack. This does neither well. It can't. It's just too light. 7.4 ounces for the knife itself. Overall, it's 11.2 ounces for, I think the technical name is KOA, that is Knives of Alaska Extreme Defense Survival, which complicates me. I just can't remember that name. I think it's stamped somewhere here, in case you forget. Why don't we just get another acronym going here for the review? DSM, Defense Survival Model. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. I like the knife, though. No, it didn't hack well. It didn't chop well. I didn't expect it to, but everything else, it did very well. You're going to be seeing some of the footage from one of the outings we took this blade on. And that takes us to what it's intended to do, and that is to be a woods blade.
That's good having an alley in the shop.
An all-around can do it all woods blade. Not in my way of thinking. I think I'm making that case to you guys. I have lots of philosophy in each of my knife reviews that talk to this and what I prefer out of a blade. My method, still to this day, preferred method for a man-portable wilderness system is a Sawviver or like saw medium-sized woods blade like this, smaller blade. With that system, I can get pretty much everything done I want to get done with what I want to do. But I think in terms of camp tasks like food preparation, light, shelter creation, I always think you should bring a tent myself. You don't have to chop down trees. But if you found yourself in a John Rambo situation, you needed a knife to make a lean-to, it would work. Just don't try to chop down saplings.
Takes an arm off in combat.
Hey, you can do it, but all that shock is going to get transmitted to your hand, to your forearm, and it is exhausting. Chopping with a light knife. You want something big, like a freaking Ontario Marine Raider, like a Ontario RTAC 2. Now those are woods blades that can do it all. But you know, there's guys out there, there's guys on television, they're running around with a 4-inch blade saying, hey, this is all I need. So technique comes into play, preferences come into play. How about an all-around survival tool? Would you recommend it, Nutnfancy? Yes, because it's lightweight. I think it's an ideal integration knife into your day pack. This knife, because it's so lightweight. And yet it has a decent length blade on it, 6 inches. That's going to allow you to baton and get to that dry wood during the rainstorm, during the snowstorm.
You got it.
Dry wood is found on the inside, not the outside. I've watched lots of people try to make fires in damp conditions and they fail until they can find out where the dry wood is, prepare it accordingly. That is, splitting it, making those sharp edges which burn readily. Bang! They got a fire going. Self-sustaining phase is achieved and they're warm. Spirits lifted, and out come the marshmallows. How fun. Defense survival. Yeah, I think for that it will work. That there's a hollow portion in the handle. The slabs are removable, by the way. Like that. However, there's no Allen key. Oh, I lied. There it is. Right there. Oh. So that's if you want to store in a match or a fishing kit. Yes, I am laughing for the record because I think it's kind of ridiculous. Because is your system so space limited you can't make a miniature, and much better supplied survival kit in a plastic bag? You have to use your knife handle? Maybe a pilot in an ejection seat aircraft can make that case, but for the rest of us, nah. I'm not going to be taking off the handle slabs and storing stuff in there. Not me. Those screws could be lost. The Allen key could be lost. Nah, not me. Philosophy of use. How about tactical? Fighting knife. Well, any knife can be a fighting knife. You guys know that at this stage, right? It's just a matter of preferences again. There's no jimping. There's not a really deep guard on it. I would probably say no. How's that? That being said, it's got good reach. 6-inch blade. What do we call the acronym again? Oh yeah, for the DSM. I think mostly a camp and hiking knife is where I'd put it. I think KOA on their website talks about how you can choke up on it and skin big game animals with it. I wouldn't want to do it. It's way too big of a blade. Way too big. You want a small caping blade, something you can really control. Just because it's on the table, I'll show you this. The Spyderco Fred Perrin, now called the Street Bowie. This is not the ideal skinning blade, this clip blade, but you get the picture on blade size and the choke up thing. That's kind of what I'm talking about right here. But guys do it. They've always done it. I mean, K-bars are out there. The Bowie knives, they've been skinning game for how many decades? Who knows? That's all for POU. Talked about the weight, 11.2 ounces overall. The balance is excellent, actually.
Man,
I think. In hand, I didn't really remember any shock getting transmitted to me while I was de-limbing a tree, which I did do, and the knife did fine in that. The blade on this one is D2, and man, does KOA put some good D2 together. Do I have any paper here to test cut? You would think I'd be prepared after all these years. No, I don't. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the lid off this. I have a cardboard box here, and we'll test it with that. Okay, so this is the edge after batoning with it. I wouldn't say a ton, but a fair amount. I haven't done anything to it. It's got a great relief edge on it, by the way. Notice that it's not really steep. I thought out of box it was sharp. Just excellent. Let's see how it does, though. And I'm going to cross-cut this corrugated cardboard. It's doing great. I've taken a lot of knives up there and done the same type or same level of work that I did with this DSM that could not even come near doing what this knife is doing. The point I'm making is, one, the relief edge is good. I think that's probably more responsible for that level of cutting. And then the steel is good. D2, as KOA puts together, is excellent. It is a semi-stainless tool steel. It will rust like crazy on you if you're not careful with it. It is bead blasted, and here's the lettering as it comes once again. I like KOA blades. I really do. I've come into several models, used them, and I just really like them. And what's not to like about that? Made in the United States of America, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Around 163, I think. 165, 170. Nah, it's not super cheap. There's other blades that are less expensive. But again, if you complain about it, then what you're saying is I like, overseas produced blades and prefer them. We just got to strike a balance. I mean, if I can get my blades all produced in the U.S. and they come in at $50, $100, awesome. It just doesn't happen. You can't pay a U.S. workforce, generally speaking, with that. Let's look at the tip on this. It's actually quite strong, as noted by extensive batoning up in high mountain, high alpine environments here in TMP. I wailed on this thing trying to break it, to be dead honest with you. I really was trying to break this knife. One reason is because D2 kind of has a reputation for being a little bit brittle. It wasn't winter when I was testing it, so let's throw that in there right now. It could have had problems in winter, but it was more or less summertime. Worked great. And by the way, I'm just going to leave that on there. I love it when a blade is all marred up. Looks just awesome.
We'll take pictures in a little bit.
And it's not flat ground, which may surprise you because you guys know I like FFG. I'm not going to lie. Love it. But I'm not all about FFG. This, the initial grind starts about midway down the spine. The beauty of this is you have a very strong spine. You can use it for fire steel, for whacking things. I think that may have been the design principle of the DSM. We'll add a little bit of weight because there's more metal in the grind. One of the reasons I like FFG, well, they slice well, but also it's just a really gradual approach to the primary cutting edge. And I feel that I can just really control that relief edge better. That's just me. Like I said, the relief edge on this doesn't need any work. I hate it when I have this style of grind and the relief edge is really abrupt. And now I look and I go, I'm looking at like an hour sharpening job to get it squared away to the geometry that I'm personally happy with. Now keep in mind, it's a woods blade. You don't want too shallow of an angle on your blade. All types of thoughts on that. I love it how it comes out of box. So I actually like the blade, everything about the blade on this knife. It's really good. Handle. It is that micarta. We talked about the hollow portion. We talked about its removability. I think that's a word. And then it's rounded. No hot spots on this Knives of Alaska KOA. Obviously a huge exposed tang on this full tang knife. Here's what I'd really like to see, and this would be massively cool if KOA did this, is make a milled, whatever you want to make it out of, steel, aluminum, probably aluminum with a steel cap on it, butt cap that comes out here that's flared, that you could actually use 2 Allen head screws and screw through the end of this, so you basically have a round hammering surface on the back of it, like that. And then you'd have a flared portion, so if I hammered a tent stake or a trap stake with it, I have something protecting my hand, and if I go on a wilderness outing, I don't need that, I just remove it, and I have the knife as you see here. If I wanted it, I could add it. They should sell it separately, and it should mate precisely to the end of the DSM. One thing that would do is would throw off the balance, because now it would be really handle heavy, but you would gain some hammering capabilities, which I don't think you have now. Yes, an exposed tang, you can't hammer with it, but it's going to splay out any wood that you hit with it. Voice of experience. Hey, I want to hammer this wood stake. Good luck. It's basically going to split it because it's narrow, because you just, you're applying force and not distributing the weight. Handle's excellent though, and it's long enough, which is another reason I love this knife. It's not a tiny short handle, which I see a lot in all kinds of blades. Anytime I see that, it's going to take a huge likability hit, maybe a 1.5 on my likability scale when I see a handle that is too short. There's really no excuse for it. It doesn't add that much weight. Doesn't make it uncomfortable for those with smaller hands. I just don't get it. Onto the sheath. I would say if I'm going to throw out a likability scale on the sheath, I'm going to give this one about, I'd give it a 7.5, and that's pretty high because I don't like the quality of nylon that KOA is using. This is a broad weave Chinese nylon. I would like to see a dense. Here I am with my specific stuff. I know I can make my own self laugh, but I just, I was a LO Bean field tester. You guys know that for years. I hate it when I see cheesy nylon. This is cheesy nylon here. For a U.S. produced knife, this should be high quality nylon. I don't know if I have an example for you. Actually, I do. This is the Kizlar Sturka, the Russian knife. This is a high quality nylon right here. On a Russian blade. What? Yeah. Like that. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, that being said, it is MOLLE integratable. I think that's a word. You got your hex wrench there, which I obviously forgot about. And then you have the plastic portion here. Well, let's see how the fit goes. I love plastic sheaths, and that's why the knife overall is pretty high. Doesn't really snap, but then you have this overall flap that secures it. I'm not really sure if the thinking on this is if you want to jump with it, like you're a paratrooper dude, airborne. Maybe that's it. If I'm jumping out of an airplane, I'm going to do more than just turn this flap over, because Murphy's Law, dude, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and it's going to fall out and probably stab your buddy in the leg. So you're going to have to probably take a Ranger rubber band around this, or a Velcro tie, 550 cord, then this. That's just me. Again, voice of experience, somewhat. It doesn't retain water. It's lightweight. Those are the pluses of the sheath. I think you could do better, though, by slamming, I don't know, a Red Hill Kydex on it or something. Quality and durability overall, I think, are excellent on the knife. We talked about the steel. No failures, no chips even, which is really surprising. And this is where you're going to see the problems, at least in TMP, is right here. Towards this belly portion. Because this will almost always end up in the dirt, and there's rocks and stuff in there. And if it's going to chip, it's going to chip right here. And again, this has a couple outings under its belt. No chips. No breakages. So, I don't know. It's awesome. I'm not going to put a lot of competitive options on the table. One I would throw out to you, which is not stainless steel, but it reminds me of this knife, is a Glock field knife. Reviewed here in the Nutnfancy project. Freak, 2008. Yeah, it was one of my first fixed blade knife reviews. Hope you liked it, dude. If he's still watching. That's what the knife reminds me of. It's kind of that long, slender, almost bayonet-like presentation. Great reach. Great span across logs to split them and stuff. Great strength, apparently. We talked about the spine already. A little bit pricey, around $165. Made in the United States. If you're going to spend that much money, you got lots and lots of options. Dig into my best of playlists. They're accessible from my homepage here on YouTube. Cool factor too. This isn't like a knife you're going to see everywhere. That's a Nutnfancy review out.
This knife is tough, though. I mean, it has not given up on us. I've whacked it pretty good too. Alaskan Knives of Alaska Defense Survival at 10,000 feet in the Nutnfancy project. It's lightweight knife. Not a hacker. Kind of an all-around camp, maybe survival, all-around camp knife, maybe a fighter. Done with that one.